Okay, continuing our discussion from last time and continuing with the theme of this particular month, which is kitchen robots. What we'll be addressing today is we'll be taking a sandwich assembly process using a robot, and we'll try to uh, come up with as autonomous of a pipeline as possible. So the agenda for today is I'll first quickly go through what we did in the last meetup, so everyone has an idea of what we are doing here with the theme of the month, and then after that we'll start with brainstorming our sandwich assembly pipeline, and around 12 then we'll conclude the pipeline, and we'll also discuss the potato mashing system, which would be a mechanical system briefly. So we'll be discussing two particular segments of the pipeline that we generated last time. One would be to prepare a sandwich assembly pipeline, and another would be to discuss the mashing system. Okay. Am I audible, right? Just was checking that. Can you please confirm if I'm audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay, okay.
Mic's off.
Just a minute. Yeah. So after discussing the mashing system, I'll announce the theme for next meetup, and then we'll have introductions and casual networking as usual. So every single week we come up with a project or an idea, and we brainstorm it together, and we arrive at a conclusion mutually, and the aim is to learn some particular aspect of robotics or artificial intelligence, and we are an active learning group, which means that we are a volunteer driven community, and anyone can volunteer for a project, and or the person can also share a research paper one has a good grasp of. So I highly encourage that you participate regardless of whether you have a lot of experience or not, because this is open to everyone regardless of experience or age. So let's starting with what we did last time. So in meetup number 15, we first started by defining what we want. So our goal last time was we want an efficient system that would be the efficient system that would automate the sandwich making process, and we here defined the raw materials that would be required, and uh, an overview of the steps that a human would be taking to prepare a sandwich. And after that we defined the hardware system that would be needed, and the entire goal in last meetup was to develop an efficient system, the one that minimizes the number of tasks and does performs the goal as quickly as possible. So we had a 6 degree of freedom robotic arm, multi gripper system, 3D camera, and here is how the layout would look like. So we have a chopping area where the vegetables are chopped, and the assembly area, and this would be our target for today's meetup. We would be focusing on this particular area, and for that we would also need to access the storage for raw vegetables and storage for spices and sauces, and we have a stove here, which is the cooking region. So we'll stick with the same robotic hardware system that we used last time, so everything connects, but we'll just be focusing on more on the assembly area, and also on the mashing process, which is somehow also in the chopping area. But this thing we'll discuss after we arrive at a conclusion about the assembly process. So yeah, here is where a robotic arm was placed, and we mutually also decided that we have a 3D camera and also a 3D camera on the gripper. So we have two 3D cameras, and the assumptions are that the stored vegetables are already clean, so we don't need to wash them or even clean any of those areas. So we are eliminating that step because it's not ultimately beneficial for us to understand any core element of robotics or AI. And the vegetables, the potatoes, onions are already peeled. The cooking and frying pan are already provided and placed on the stove, so we don't need to place it, close the lid, and all these things. These are also, we assume, are already taken care of. The induction stove has automated temperature control system, and it just indicates the robot when a cooking operation is done. So this is also an aspect that we are not taking care of. We are assuming that it's automated. So the pipeline that we arrived last time was that we would first start by boiling potatoes, and at the same time chopping of onions and tomatoes would be done, and then after the potatoes are boiled, they go to the mashing area, and the chopped onions and tomatoes along with the potatoes are collected in one particular area, and then they go to frying region, which is at the stove, and then the assembly part is done. So today we'll be focusing on the assembly part, and go really deep into what the pipeline might look like. Yes, and here to add a few more details. So this is a more detailed pipeline compared to the last slide, and here we are assuming that we have a vegetable basket. So this storage area is actually a basket where we have uh, potatoes, onions, and tomatoes all together, and we are using deep learning to label these potatoes, onions, and tomatoes, such that taking the RGB images from the basket area, the deep learning system gives us labels of potatoes, onions, and tomatoes, and these are then picked and placed. So a grasping operation is done, and the potatoes are placed inside the cooker, such that, and after that the robot also places onions and tomatoes inside chopping unit, and the chopped onions and the cooked potatoes and the boiled potatoes are then mashed, and the chopped onions and tomatoes and the mashed potatoes are then sent to the frying pan, and then the assembly process is done. And we also considered that a feedback system might be beneficial in this case. Also, we can expand this particular pipeline, but more or less we'll be focusing on assembling the sandwich. That means taking the bread slices, the frying stuffing that we have, the cheese slices, and all the fillings, and assembling it together. So it would be focusing more or less on a grasping operation, and this is where we can start with brainstorming our pipeline for today, that of a sandwich assembly. Okay, so before we start, do we have any queries regarding what I shared so far?
Chandan, the feedback system I wanted to ask,
Yeah.
is it the customer feedback system, or is it like an internal feedback system that determines whether the robot is working efficiently or not? Like, is
Uh,
it the customer based or is it the internal robot based?
it could be anything actually. We didn't specify it last time. We also considered the possibility that okay, after assembly, the product is finished, and then a person could give the feedback, and then somehow
Correct.
this,
Yeah, like
yeah.
the customer would give a feedback and tell whether there's something missing within the sandwich,
Hmm,
and
hmm,
then
hmm.
I think the flow would be adjusted. So, like if the sandwich has less salt, then in that case the salt shaker will be focused on towards improvement. I think that's what was the part for reinforcement learning, right?
Uh, yeah, but this can also be fit in this particular pipeline, right?
Correct.
Feedbacks, maybe I can just specify feedback system from customer.
Or maybe an internal system, I guess.
Internal,
Internal,
what do you mean by an internal system? Like
internal,
no human in loop, you mean?
not exactly. Internal, like how we have standard control systems, right? PID and stuff like that,
Yeah, yeah.
which uses the system parameters to adjust what is going on, what we need to do, something like that.
Hmm. But here, like after assembly, we have the final product, and then it is somehow it will be connected to this whole pipeline.
Correct.
Yeah. Maybe we can
Okay.
discuss this as well at the end when we are
Sure.
discussing mashing, because this is
Sure.
another like something we can go really deep into.
Sure. I'll
Okay.
also look into that mashing and cutting tools. Like I remember having a old cutting tool in which like you place a vegetable in the middle and just press the equipment, so the vegetable gets chopped into small pieces. So I'll look into that and
Ah,
I'll
okay.
add it in the chat room. So maybe if we're discussing that process also, we can look that up.
Yeah, yeah, we'll be discussing that at the end of today. So to just show you briefly our agenda. So our main goal is to come up with a sandwich assembly process, and after that we'll discuss the mashing system as well, and also we can discuss briefly about feedback and other systems. So it depends on the time. Our main focus will be this, but we can also go on other systems, right?
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Okay, then we can start with the sandwich assembly process. And here again, so we are just carrying over from this pipeline. So based on this pipeline, we understand that now we have a filling ready. So this entire thing I can call a filling, the one where mashed potatoes, onions, and tomatoes are all fried together. So let's call it filling. And at the same time, we would need bread. So for one particular
So
sandwich,
basically, that would be what materials are ready for making, right?
yeah, exactly, the materials, yeah.
Okay.
So bread slices, filling, and cheese, lettuce. I think we also considered. Let's check the initial ingredients. So these potatoes and all these things are now part of one filling, and cheese, lettuce, sauces, and spices, right? And two bread slices. That's all. Okay. Sauces, spices. That's it, right?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Then what I think is, and we'll have a discussion about it. What I think we should be doing is that it should, so all of these things we are assuming that they are placed in this storage area, right? So the storage area for spices, sauces, oil. So in bread, everything is somehow placed here. So our goal last time, we didn't specify our goal beforehand, and the goal was came out to be like having an efficient system, but it was like decided along the way. But today, let's keep our goal as to solving a really hard research problem so that we can understand things more deeply, as contrast to what we did last time, trying to build an efficient system, right? So this time our goal would be to make it as challenging as
Uh,
possible. So
Chandandeep,
yeah.
the thing that you're mentioning, efficient system, like what were the points raised on that? Like I don't remember from last time.
No, so so by efficient system, I mean that we were only focusing on what would be a quick learning, a quick running system such that we go through all these steps and come up with a process as soon as possible. So that's why we
So basically,
decided.
easy surefire thing, I guess, like a easy surefire system that would work properly.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why we eliminated the chopping by means of a robot, and mashing. For mashing also we used a separate machine.
Right.
So this is what I mean by an efficient system, such that the whole pipeline is actually implementable and practical and quick in getting us the output we want.
Okay, got it.
So this time, but we will be contrasting it. This time, it is like more of a we'll focus more from a research point of view. So, so the bread slices, we are not assuming that any other there's a machine or anything that just feeds it bread or anything, bread slices, or there's another mechanical system. We are focusing on it from AI point of view. So the grasping and manipulation would be done entirely by a robot. So we are trying to simulate an entire hand system how a human would be doing, but we'll be trying to make it using a robot as much as we can. We'll try to
So
come up with.
basically, the robot should be involved in the pick and place rather than it being somehow automated or being like simplified, I guess.
Yeah, so everything, yeah, everything the robot should be doing. So from picking the bread slices to also picking the filling, which would be a challenging part, and also applying the cheese, lettuce, sauces, and spices. It should do everything basically.
Got it.
Yeah. So let's see how much the robot can help us here. So anyway, okay. So I think the first step would be just to simply pick a first let's do an overall pipeline of it, and then we'll go deeper into each of the systems, because today we'd have to go deeper into each of the areas as well. So the first step is just to pick one bread slice, and I think for assumptions, we don't want to make it like still so complicated that we have too many parameters. So that's why we are assuming that the storage for spices is here, and let's assume that the bread is placed, all the bread slices are placed one on top of each other in a layer
Yeah,
system.
like a bin kind of thing, like a rectangular bin which has all the slices placed one over the other. So that
Yeah.
could be something that the people who are managing the system, they could pre-prepare the container for the bread slices.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we also have to somehow make this thing storage for. So this thing is not important for us. These regions are not important, and now I can expand on this area and show where the probably the bread is stored. And stove is also needed because the frying area would be gripper changing system, probably yes, assembly area, right? So this is what we need, and here just to define it we can add a few more blocks. Let's say here we would have the bread slices stacked on top of each other, right? And the cheese slices are here. Now this will be challenging, right? Picking one cheese slice at a time, but let's see what we can do. And all the spices are, let's say, in spices and sauces are in this particular region.
We could even consider the spices and sauces in a standard container, like a cylindrical container.
So, one separate container for one spice, right?
Yeah, but like they could be of a standard dimension, like a cylindrical container with just the top being different. So, like for
Okay.
spices, we can have a the one with holes, like perforated top, and for the sauces, we can have the standard kind, like one single protruding head kind of thing.
Okay. And I think like generally there's in kitchens there's a set for spices or stuff, so it's like similar containers for each of these, so we can take advantage of that.
Yeah, like the spices and sauces handling part can be simplified, I guess, in that case, since
Yeah.
like since they are just cylinders, maybe we can have one gripper that can handle that, that kind of thing. So you remember from that Indian Molly thing,
Yeah.
they had the small rectangular box in which
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
were just doing the shaking part. We could take some inspiration from that. Like we can have a just a cylindrical container which can be storing either spices, or it can be either storing the sauces like tomato ketchup or mayonnaise. It's just that maybe the shaking part could be different depending on what we're handling.
Okay, and also let's add. So it's just a cylindrical container for each of the spices we are assuming now,
Yes.
and
For the
let's
spices.
also have lid on the containers to make it complicated.
So you want to change the lid? Are you saying?
So we have to like it has to detach. It has to like remove the lid and then apply the spices or something.
Why would you do that? Like you could have multiple like those cylindrical bottles with either spices or sauces, and they can be just fit with the correct kind of head that is needed.
Yeah, but again, like this is now we are defining kind of the problem, right? So we want to take it into a more difficult solvable
Okay,
problem, and it doesn't have to
maybe
be solved, right?
maybe the difficult part could be how like the how the gripper is doing the pick like the handling of the container, like the cylindrical bottle, and how it's being like how the spices or the sauces are being applied.
Yeah, that
Because
is also.
because I feel like if we try to change the lid top like via the robot, it would just be unnecessary.
Okay, okay.
Because see, like you won't be changing the contents of the bottle every time, right?
So I mean, you want to reduce the complexity a bit because we already have so many complex
No,
things
no,
going
no,
on.
not like I'm not. I guess you could say that, but I'm saying that there is a standard thing, right? Like if you
Yeah, yeah,
go to these restaurants, you'll find those plastic bottles, right?
yeah.
Which
Okay.
has sauces and mayonnaise. We can so basically the top is a pointy top for
Yeah,
that,
sure, sure, sure. So it just
or
has to. Okay, I get it.
yeah,
So
we
it
can
would be
just have 5 to 6
perforated
bottles.
at the top, like you mentioned.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can
Okay,
have
yeah.
5 to 6 bottles with different tops. Like for spices, a whole one, and for the sauces, we have the standard pointy kind of top.
Okay, okay. So we don't want to have lids, and it's actually practical because for spices we have those perforated ones
Correct.
in
Yeah.
restaurants as well everywhere. So okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's not make it too complicated. This makes sense. And spices and sauces, bread and cheese we have here, and the filling
Dressing,
would be
lettuce,
lettuce. Yeah.
salad dressing, I guess.
Yes, and the filling we'll have to pick from the frying pan basically. So just to specify. All right. Okay. Let's now start. Okay. So like the simple process now would be to pick first one bread, although the complexity would be in each of the blocks. Pick one bread, then pick and place. I should write in one, I think. Pick one bread and place in assembly area. Then pick one cheese slice. I can already see how difficult it would be. And place in assembly area, right?
On the bread, right?
Yeah, on the bread. Yeah. Assembly area on top of the bread. Okay. And next would be lettuce. One lettuce leaf and place on top of assembly, and then or filling, like overall this is just straightforward. And sauces would come first, or I don't know, sauces and spices maybe. Apply sauces and spices, and then after that we can do filling. Apply filling, I don't know what the right word would be, but anyway, that doesn't matter. Apply filling and then close with it. Place second bread slice, right? Yeah, I guess like this would be one simplified way.
Yeah, this would be the best way, I guess.
Yes, and now,
And maybe the blocks also could be like shifted front and back according to what we want to do later on. I think it's pretty much pretty easy, pretty flexible, I would say.
yeah, yeah, actually, yeah, that they can definitely be
Like if
exchanged.
you want to
So
put the filling first and then put cheese and
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
spices, or put cheese and spices and then put the filling or
Hmm, hmm,
something like
hmm.
that, that could be changed, I
Yeah,
guess.
so I think this is an important point. So some things are exchangeable here as well, and if we need to, we can exchange those. Okay, so that's it for this pipeline. Now let's talk about picking the bread. Now this is the interesting part. So we are just talking about this thing. While I'm just editing, you can think of it as well. So pick one bread slice. So we now know that as we have assumed actually. So all the bread slices are placed on top of one another, and we know that we have a overhead camera. So the camera knows. The camera is able to have a view of all these things. Now we have to define how the system understands whether we have bread slices here, and the good thing is that the bread slices would always be here as we have defined, and there's a 3D camera also on the end effector. So I think the first step would be that we just define it like manually, that this particular area is the bread region. And how do we define that? I don't think we need a deep learning or anything. It's just an we just take an image and we just define it, like, because it's fixed. So this is now known to the system that this is the bread region. I think what would be challenging would be to open the gripper with the width and the right depth every time. Actually, it would not be that complicated.
Chandradeep, what kind of gripper are we going to have at that
So
time?
yeah, so the initially we are having two jaw gripper, but for cheese, I think, and other stuff we would have to change. So initially we have a two jaw gripper. Did we specify this thing? No, I think we just wrote multi gripper changing system. So initially we should have a two jaw gripper, or do you have some other suggestion?
I remembered like there are these grippers like vacuum kind of grippers
Yeah.
which are used for holding up cardboard boxes, and even in that recent Boston Dynamics video also, you remember they're unloading those boxes from the truck, so they're using that suction kind of grippers. We could probably like do something like that too, because since it's a flat bread,
Yeah.
and like, two suction cups could be enough in a line. So you put the
But
suction cup.
I don't think suction cups would work on bread. I think these are a good idea for cheese, since because of the texture. I mean, bread has like lots of pores, so I don't think
Okay.
suction would
Yeah,
be a good
that
idea,
could be
right?
a problem. That could be a problem. Correct.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think somehow for the bread we have to find we have to use a two jaw gripper or any other gripper. So two jaw gripper could be a good idea, but again the bread is also flexible. We have to also take that into account. So these are a few challenges. Let's assume first what would happen if we take a two jaw gripper. So if we take a two jaw gripper and we know that this is the region for a bread, it is just like a hard coded coordinate system where all the breads uh, would be stacked on top of each other, and um we are kind of assuming that they are even and all are just taken out of the packet and all have same, more or less same dimensions. So I don't think an object detection stuff would be needed, right? But again, we can make it we can do an object detection approach as well if we want to make it complicated.
Object, maybe the vision camera that could be used for precise picking and placing, I guess, because
Yeah.
like you need to decide how to pick the bread and then navigate the gripper in that case, right? Because it's not guaranteed the bread holder would be having too much allowance for the gripper to just freely move inside to pick a slice. Like I would assume
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that is a problem. Yeah. Mm, so I think one way is, and I think this is not the best way, is that we pick it from top down, right? So we have a wide opening jaw and it just picks it from top down, but again it's flexible, so there's chances that it will just maybe uh, damage it, or it will not pick it, and when it picks it, it will fall. So I guess this is probably not the best way. Do you have some other suggestions? Meanwhile, we can also like Google search things. Grasping deformable bread, I guess. Manipulation for deformable objects. So here it's kind of picking a plastic cup, right? Or what is this?
Yeah, that's a plastic cup.
Yeah. So I guess this. So our problem would be of this nature, but I guess more complicated.
Even because I think it will be more complicated because we'll have multiple breads stacked,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Because you'll have to somehow get one part of the gripper between two bread slices so that you can pick the top one.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. So yeah, that's what we want to discuss, like the really difficult things, and the goal today would be to just kind of expand our minds by the end of this meetup, and we may or may not reach a practical solution, but we would try to as much as possible. So here, I just clicked on this link here, and there are probably some papers we can check. Grasp quality measure for deformable hollow objects. So this is for the glass stuff, although our problem is quite different. Another way would be that it actually picks from the side, but this would also be really difficult.
And not exactly Chandandeep. Like we can have some kind of a gripper that acts like a tong.
Yeah, that is probably like
There are those 90-degree tongs, right? When you have a very
something like like this is mounted, and then it just so these are like, okay. So this is, let's assume, does it make sense, right? This is like the flat surface, very thin, and it can go between slides if we are picking it from the sides.
Is that a plate kind of thing, or are you talking about the tongue?
It's a plate kind of thing, but tong, okay, tong would be something similar, right? So tong would
It will be
be,
basically like a two jaw gripper
ah,
kind of
okay,
thing,
okay, yeah, tong, I get it.
but very thin. Like the plate could be
Something
very
like this.
kind of, yeah, basically like a pencil, correct?
Yeah, so I think the first step for us would be to finalize on which direction we want to pick from, and then define the type of gripper, because it depends on if we pick from the bread slices from the top or the sides. So this is our bread. I don't know if it would make sense, but since I think both of us are on same page, so, and better than yesterday is also probably aware of it. So yeah, so this is, it doesn't make sense. It's not the best drawing. So these are bread slices placed on top of each
Yeah,
other, and
yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
That makes
yeah,
sense.
because this is,
I added some photos in the chat room, Chandandeep. The second picture is something I would probably consider.
okay. So this is like a gripper system. The first one, both of these for the type of gripper that we'll be using. So this second one is, so these are basically like scissor linkage mechanism, or yeah. So yeah, basically the tong kind of idea, and what's the advantage of the second one compared to the tong?
No, the first one is just a general diagram. That's not what I wanted to tell. The second picture is what I wanted to talk about.
Okay, okay. Yeah, but it's
So
like scissor linkage. So yeah,
yeah,
I get it. Okay, yeah. So
basically the bottom part of the scissor linkage could be very thin, and you'll need some kind of vision to understand whether it's between two bread slices or not.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that becomes a pretty interesting vision problem, I guess.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Vision and a sensory problem too, I guess, because you need some kind of touch senses to understand whether you're gripping the bread properly or not,
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
if needed, I guess, if you want to
Yeah.
make it a bit more like foolproof to work properly or not.
Okay, so like let's go step by step. So the first thing, we now want to pick it from the sides and not from the top using a two jaw gripper, because that doesn't make sense, right? So if these are the jaws and we try to pick it from this is going to damage it. If,
Like the major problem would be that it will basically break the bread
yeah,
and the sandwich will not turn out proper, I guess.
yeah. So it makes logical sense that it picks. Using this kind of arrangement, but here also we have to be careful with the edges, with the ends of this tong kind of system, because
Yeah,
it should also not
it
damage the bread.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be sharp also. Like if it's plastic and if it's like a little bit slanted towards the end, I don't think it will damage exactly.
What I think would be better is this kind of system where it just probably it takes. So we have a camera on the gripper as well, right? Okay, let me just tell you what I think, and then let me then tell me what you think about it. Okay, so there's a camera here on the gripper as well. Maybe we make it rotate, and it faces this particular, it sees from this particular view as it goes behind it. So the so it would the camera would see these stacks of bread, right?
Okay, yeah, get it, get. Okay, yeah, that would be much easier actually, rather than the tong, because you'll have to like navigate the both the parts, because like your suggestion will have only one like one stationary part, and you just need to probably slide it between two slices, I guess, the first and the second slice.
Yeah, and here the challenge would just be, I think it would be simpler because we just have to detect edges of all of the
Yeah, and
breads.
probably the precise positioning is also going to be
Yeah.
another mathematical thing over there.
Hmm. So, what do you think now? This gripper or
Yeah,
this?
yours is better. Yours is definitely easier also, because
Okay.
what maybe we could have is that the bread container could be just a three-sided thing. So like one side is just open, and you just get the plate. Like first of all, after like once before we start the assembly, we can go to the gripper changing station, switch out from the two jaw gripper to this flat plate kind of gripper,
Hmm.
and pick out the bread, and then again change it back to the one that is needed, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm.
True, true, true. That would be much better.
Actually, do you think this might also work for cheese slices, right? If the cheese slices are not stuck with each
but
other.
but I think since cheese slices, I guess it could work. But even considering bread also, how do you think the vision system will be able to identify the different layers, because they will be almost of the
Yeah.
same, right?
Let's see how cheese slice stack, because we know
Like,
it for a bread, right?
if we
Cheese
can manage
slice.
for a this bread stack, no, then I think cheese stack should also work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is what we are looking for exactly. So we can make an assumption, right? So for this particular thing. Also, I mean, here also we would have the edges, and here it's actually inside uh, a plastic wrapper or something. So we don't have a wrapper. We are making that assumption again here. Yeah. Yes, this is the kind of thing that we
So
have.
I guess the simple edge detector should work, I guess, in
Yeah.
that.
Hmm. Okay, so we have done one step here. Actually, I don't think we needed to draw this. I mean, we have images of these, right? So, bread stack. So exactly this is what we are looking for.
Yeah, 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 perfect.
Let's add, because last time we also, I think Subhashish mentioned that it's better to have images instead of these just blocks, because yeah, it makes things more clear. So let's just keep this. All right. So now, where is this? Yes. So we are taking bread from. So basically the initial step is that the system knows that okay, here is our cheese stack, here is our bread stack, here are our spices, here is our lettuce, right? We are not making this process complicated, but the robot arm would actually go at the end here around this area, and we have to make sure its reachability is such. Again, let's assume that, and once it goes at the back, now it identifies the stack for bread and cheese, and from the back when we look, it would look like this. So bread and cheese stack like we had. Also, if anyone has doubt, better than yesterday, if you have like some suggestions, feel free to give your suggestions, or if something doesn't make sense, just yeah,
If we use
tell
a
about it.
hand like grip,
Sorry.
if we use hand like grip, just to check the video, then you will understand.
Which video are you talking about?
That I sent now.
Okay. Where did you send?
It's here,
Chat
it's
room.
here. The robot kitchen thing is
Ah,
showing.
okay. Sorry. Yeah, I thought you sent in person. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is the same one, the Molly one, right?
No, it's different. So it's using a gripper like hand.
Okay.
This is the Molly Robotic Kitchen.
Yeah, it's Molly.
Chandandeep, if you just move a little bit back, like take it back a little bit, there, I think the pan thing was there in the video.
This one, you mean?
Is
Just
the Molly Robotic
yeah,
Kitchen.
this. Okay.
This is the Molly Robotic
Yeah, this.
Kitchen.
Array, again.
Yeah, it's
So,
it's it's this
you
pretty.
can
Molly
change the
Robotic
video
Kitchen.
just fast.
Yeah, this
Go
is.
ahead.
We need something like that. Basically, the
Yes.
utensil that
Hand-like
thing is holding.
structure.
Yeah.
But it's using like a hand type end effector. If we
Yeah, it's a 5-finger gripper that it's using. Um, yeah, this is another direction that we can take, and we would definitely
Go to 2
need
minutes.
need to change the gripper when we are picking the, what do we say, the frying, the filling.
yeah. I think last time also we had the same discussion. Like, what kind of gripper should we go with? Whether we go with a multi gripper or do we go with a single like all utility kind
Go
of.
to the video at 2 minutes. You will find that gripper, 5-finger gripper.
Yeah, we get 5-finger gripper. Yeah, it's.
I guess from a practical standpoint of view, Chandandeep, this kind of application, like the five-hand gripper setup, it will probably save you time in manufacturing different kinds of grippers. But if you have the money and time to make different kinds of grippers, your programming complexity will probably go down, I guess, because
Yeah.
of like if
But
my
again, like, what's our goal today? So our goal is to have it more programmatically complex and not assisted mechanically. So in a way, like, we would be doing the same thing if we are having, we are allowing it to change the grippers every time. Then it's like we are solving the problem mechanically and not using AI.
Okay, so I guess then probably we go with a like a five-fingered gripper then in that case.
Okay, let's take both the cases since we are also making progress with this particular system that we have. And this thing I think now we'll be able to figure out faster. So this
Yeah.
thing is probably more in the direction of an efficient system, right? Because this is more
Yes.
efficient and it just goes to the back and it picks a slice, then adds the lettuce and then picks the filling, and probably the filling can also be filled using just this particular one. Let's see. So okay, let's tackle both the problems, and after this we'll change to 5-finger gripper to solve it like more in a humanistic way. Okay, so now we are focusing on the efficient system first, and let me just copy this picture. So this is our stack. Do you have any idea what do we call this type of picking system? I don't know. It's like kind of similar to a non-stick spoon, right? So but thinner. I don't know what it is called actually. So this is the kind of gripper that we are focusing on at the end. Okay. All right. So it picks one bread slice and okay, we have to define here. First of all, robot navigates to the back of the bread and cheese side, right?
Yeah, that's true. So basically, it will the gripper will have to first position itself in front of this stack, like the image that is showing. It will have to position it over there first.
Yeah, gripper camera captures the bread and cheese stack images, and then edge detection. So basically, it has to know the slices. Edge detection for individual slices, right? And then it goes to those coordinates. So let's say we define these slices would be identified, and the initial one would be this. uh, yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on the PPT because that is not the main thing. Yes, and this would be identified first, and so this particular edge would then go and match with this thing. We'll give the coordinates of the end effector such that this matches with this thing, and then it picks it up and places in the assembly region. Now we are focusing on an efficient one first before we go to the research problem. Okay. Places in assembly, places bread in assembly section and cheese on top of it. I'm writing them together to save time. Cheese on top of it. So yeah, again the pick, and so this would,
Similar thing.
yeah, it's going to just repeat. So I just wrote it. As long as we all are on the same page, it doesn't matter what I write. Yes. Okay, so what next? So the next is, we have already done one step now, and pick one lettuce leaf and place on top of assembly. Now this is our step. So we have to first assume how the lettuce leaves are placed, and now this could be a difficult one. Lettuce leaves, yeah, we have to make an assumption how these are placed. First of all, I think we have to assume that these are like broken into separate uh,
Individual
leaves.
leaves,
Yeah,
right?
individual leaves. But how are they placed? Are they placed like this? Probably this makes sense, but we will assume that they are
No,
separated.
I think lettuce leaves, like the one, like the picture that you opened up at the top. Uh,
Which one? Which image are you? This one are you talking about?
no, no, no. They, like generally lettuce leaves are pretty big and like they can be stackable. I think so.
Yeah, but again, in this particular case, I think stacking would not be very beneficial to us, like because we have to find another gripper system anyway, right?
No,
Uh,
right? Like you could probably use that itself, no?
how? I mean, it's too thin, and it's also like too light, and it's like of totally different texture.
Okay, yeah, I guess the edge detection might not properly work also.
I mean,
Maybe the
even if we are stacking, it's like, imagine, like it could be let's take it, if we are stacking leaves on top of each other, so it would be like, this is one leaf. Okay, this is probably one leaf, and then here it is something like this. It's a leaf, right?
yeah, it's
And
there's no
something,
regularity. I guess yeah,
yeah.
your point is correct in that case, definitely.
Mm. So this would be we have to follow a different approach in this case.
I think in this cases, suction kind of gripper would be better. Like you like have a single point suction gripper, make the gripper go on top of the stack, and it just picks up one out. Like I
Okay.
think there's this kind of suction gripper made by On Robotics. I think so. On Robot, I think so. Like
Okay, but then here now we are considering an efficient problem. What would be more efficient for us? Then if you're using suction gripper, I think for cheese slice suction would be better. We don't have to do this edge detection. It just goes on top and picks, right? So
but
for
but there's no guarantee, right? The cheese could be sticky also. The suction might like if you use the suction gripper, it might just pick up multiple cheese slices in that case. So there's
yeah,
no
yeah,
guarantee.
yeah, this is a good point. Yes, it might pick multiple cheese slices. Yeah, it might
Correct.
press more, and yeah, this is a possibility.
Basically, the suction gripper's moment to shine is when it's trying to pick up a little sleep, I guess.
Okay, okay. But
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, if it would really work for the leaves, picking leaves. I know. I mean, it makes sense, but picking leaves using suction gripper. And now, I mean, we are just sorry, suction gripper. I don't think we would find anything. I mean, nobody does this, right? So how do you think? So how do you think we would be changing the gripper? The gripper, the multi. We still have the rotatable multi gripper system, right? So it would just switch to the suction gripper. It would rotate and switch to that, right? This is what you mean.
That no, that could be one way. Chandandeep, in the chat room, I added a suction gripper. It's made by Robotic.
Yeah. Okay.
This is single point, I think so. Single point suction gripper. So this could be something that could be usable.
Yeah, and these on the
This
top
is
are
this is maybe a
spoon.
kind of end effector for the plate holding thing. Sorry, the the spoon kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just an example. This suction gripper is what could be probably used.
Okay.
How about vacuum grippers?
Like,
Yeah, that's what
yeah,
this.
this is
Yes,
the same thing.
Oh, same thing. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So this suction gripper we would switch to. Okay, let me add another slide. Okay, I think Krish, you just joined, right? Do you have any doubts? I'm trying my best to note these things
No, no,
down,
no,
but we
no. I'm
discussed
just
verbally a lot of things.
yeah, yeah. Continue, please continue. I don't want to disturb the flow.
No worries, just yeah, let us know if you can read meanwhile, and if you understand it or if you have any doubt, just yeah, don't hesitate to speak about it.
Sure, sure.
Okay, so this I think this particular slide is where we have done the bread and the cheese, and now here for the lettuce. So I'll delete all these things now. So first step would be to change gripper to suction gripper. Again we have to, oh sorry, oh I thought I copied this. Yes. All right, so this is the gripper that we have right now. This was the gripper that we had initially, and all right, changing gripper to suction gripper, and then this one would yeah, okay, so we were finalizing on how lettuce is placed. Okay, we have fixed the gripper, but how is this placed? Basically, is it placed in this bowl kind of way? uh, I guess this bowl random arrangement, where was that picture? I'm feeling hungry now. So yes, this kind of way makes sense, although this will be like really difficult to identify one individual leaf here.
Yeah, that would be a computer
Really,
vision problem in that case. Like you
yeah.
identify one leaf and then navigate the suction gripper in such a way that it picks just that leaf.
Actually, this is like easier said than done. It's
Yeah,
it's not so easy. It's all like you can see, like, even as a human identifying one particular leaf is a challenge, right?
yeah, yeah.
Hmm. What can be done about it?
Then in that case, if you want to simplify it, then we just break out leaves and stack them up in that case, Chandradeep, and just come from top and pick one, and then just go ahead with our process then.
How do
Like
we?
that's the efficient way. But if you want to take it in a complicated way, then like vision is the way to go. If
Okay,
like
so like, since right now we are on an efficient system approach, let's try to simplify this problem and more make it more practical. Then in the next in the research part, we will go into using computer vision or some approach.
okay,
Yeah, so we are free to also now go for a mechanical kind of system, but let's try to still stick with the robot. I mean, with mechanical, I'm saying we are more flexible with the gripper and how we place the lettuce. Basically, we can arrange it in such a way that it is easier for us to assemble. I can't think of anything, to be honest. I mean, a layered stack is probably the solution that seems.
But do you think the layered stack would hold up? I mean,
No,
as a
I also
layer.
think it wouldn't really hold up. Um,
Uh, Maybe what we can do is keep all the letters in the box and maybe try to make the robot in such a way that it picks up the vacuum gripper picks it up like at any given angle, not at a perpendicular or a flat angle. Or maybe there is one more thing, you can put all the leaves in one in between a rod or a like a pointed
yeah, yeah, yeah.
skew, and then maybe the suction robot can pick it up and then pull it out of that rod or that
you're
skew.
talking like a barbecue kind of thing.
Yeah, like
Almost
a
like that,
toothpick or
almost like that.
something.
And it would also help you to take out the full stack in one go, so you can make a mechanism around that as well.
But like
Like
for
if you
assembly, we want to place just one or two leaves on top of it, right?
or could we use gravity and make the letters fall on it?
You're
Um,
talking like a drop down kind of like a
Maybe
hopper kind
that, or maybe the skew thing, or
Are you talking about a hopper thing? Like, I think there are robots that do that kind of similar thing.
a hopper.
Yeah, basically like a container, and like you press a button and it opens up a little bit, and probably some kind of fruit or vegetable drops out from that.
Yeah, I guess that, yeah,
but like
maybe.
that would be probably not efficient. I mean, we have to add a whole new system here. I think this suction direction is actually pretty good, but we have to now think of how we are going to arrange such that because suction is really good for this, because the two leaves would not stick with each other, comparing with the cheese case, right? So this is actually the right way, but how are we going to place those? So since this is like an actual assembly problem that we are solving right now, like the efficient approach, maybe let's stick with stacking the leaves, so we also have time to discuss the research problem. So let's take like sort of a cylindrical container container with leaves, something like that. like a not this, actually a transparent cylinder container. So imagine this to be transparent, and like leaves are placed by somebody already beforehand, just one leaf on top of each other, of
Yeah,
another
like
leaf.
a human could probably break out the lettuce leaves and just push it down one by one. So you'll have
Yeah,
stacks of
yeah, yeah.
easily usable stacks of lettuce leaves in that
Yeah,
case.
and then the suction would be really good because it just has to pick at the middle, right? It's also
Yes.
like mechanically, the coordinates are given easily. Okay, never mind. Yes, so leaves are placed in stack. So we also now take care of lettuce leaves in stack. Okay, so these are now gripper is changed to suction gripper, and the leaves are picked one by one. Leaves picked and placed on assembly. I'm just referring to our like partial sandwich as assembly. On assembly, okay. What next? Now we have to just, I think, pick the spices. Let's just take, we are yeah, it doesn't matter how many spices we are taking. Let's just take, we are, say we are taking three spices or so. We just go to it, pick one container, and then yeah, leave it on top of it, shake it a bit there. I think the coordinates could move in a circle or something, and then go back to it, do the next step, and the same with the sauces.
Yeah, the spices and sauces will be easy to apply, I guess, because if
Hmm.
we keep them in a standard container, then like we either change the gripper first. No, first of all, we'll have to change the gripper from the suction one.
Ah, yeah, sorry, yeah, you're right. We forgot to change the gripper. Yes, so we have to change the gripper to now. I think for this case, a two jaw gripper would make sense.
Yeah, that definitely
Actually,
that would
I
work
don't know
easily.
if the multi jaw gripper is. Yeah, it's actually a good solution, but we are changing grippers after every few steps, right? Okay. Anyway, for this part, let's stick with it. For the next part, we will switch to finger, the five finger gripper. Okay, change gripper to two jaw, right?
Yes, two jaw gripper, correct.
Two jaw gripper, and then just pick and place the spices.
So like pick and apply spices or sauces, I guess that would
Yeah,
be what.
apply sauces and spices, right? Yes, and I mean, this thing is not a big deal. We can just define the region of the sandwich, and it just yeah, rotates around it, or goes to random.
We forgot to put the patty also, the filling.
Yeah, after this we'll do the filling. Although I mean, yeah, the sequence probably, I don't know if it matters that much, but yeah,
Yeah.
now would be the filling part. Yes. Okay. So the filling. So we are imagining now that frying pan potatoes. Some, not exactly like this, like, but we have some sort of filling like this inside a container, right? This is what we are assuming.
But Chandandeep, we didn't exactly mix them up properly, right? We just like we mash the potatoes
Yeah.
and we put it in the frying pan, and then we cut the onions and tomatoes and we put them also in the frying pan. But I
Actually,
think
the thing is
we,
that we didn't go deep into that particular. We selected the assembly process last time. That is another thing we can go really deep into, like how that cooking
like
process
I
would.
guess, yeah, I guess before the frying portion we could probably add where like in the the cutting and the mashing area, we might need to do a mixture first of all to make a solid patty and then put it in the frying pan. That could be a small detail that could be added, I guess. So,
Do we want to make a patty or not? Like last time we discussed that we want to.
because if we don't make the patty, then the filling would be very loose, right? How will you get the gripper to pick it up?
That
In
is,
that case,
yeah, that is the difficult part. But we
in
can
that case,
just go with
Chandandeep,
this particular gripper that we chose, right? Where is this? This one. But then it has to be cleaned after that as well for the next
no,
round.
but still, it won't be able to pick up all the filling. No, it's just a flat thing. Like the filling will fall off it if it's loose. If it's like a
Yeah.
patty, then it will hold together, and then this flat spoon kind of thing will easily pick it up.
No, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but it's the challenge of the problem, let's say.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so I mean, well, we defined it like this actually initially, so we would have to change it. Let's stick with the filling. Let's just assume that we want to have some kind of
Loose filling, I
yeah,
guess.
loose filling. So and we want to have a system for that.
Okay, got it.
Let's assume we have this particular problem with no patty. Although patty would be, I think, yeah, the better solution, but going in the direction that we defined our problem, basically. Anyway, yeah. So
So in that case, Chandandeep, then the flat spoon gripper that we have, no, maybe we could modify it a little bit. Like
this kind of thing.
no, that's just that's the masher, right?
Ah, okay. Sorry. Yeah, I thought there was so there's this. Actually, there is some mashing systems where it has a really broad base that could also be considered for picking.
But it will have holes, right? How will it be able to pick up the loose filling? Like
Hmm.
the won't the filling fall off from those holes?
In,
Like for a masher, it definitely needs to have a hole. Only then the potato will be evenly mashed.
yeah, 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 true. Hmm. So first question is, do we want to use this gripper or do we want to use a new gripper for picking the filling?
I guess it could be used. Like maybe the gripper may need to have some kind of borders at the end. Like it will need to have edges at like pointing upwards, so that it's not like completely flat.
So it's
But
in this particular image we have this borders at the
yeah,
end.
yeah, it is little bit is there
But
definitely. So
actually,
yeah,
for
that could
like
work.
for then it's a different gripper, right? Because for this particular case, we selected totally flat, and
But
borders would not
I
be.
think it would. I think this thing, if there's a balance between the amount of edge that is there, no, Chandan, I think it can probably even pick up the bread and the cheese slices also, because since the front part is thin,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
can
yeah.
fit in between the slices and
If it is
this.
broad enough.
Yeah, and the front part just needs to be thin. Then in that case, it will work.
Hmm. So yes, let's then assume that we use the same gripper.
Actually, we can even change the order also of applying the lettuce. We could probably do the bread, cheese, and put
Yeah,
the filling so that we save some time
yeah,
on doing
exactly.
the finger gripping. Yeah.
Yes, if we are doing, yeah, if we are using the same gripper, then it makes sense that we do it together. So okay,
Yeah.
let's do it together. And yeah, just I would just simply change the sequence here. Right. So for filling now, we just have this pan, which I didn't copy.
I don't think the picture that you chose, Chandandeep, would exactly represent the kind of filling that we'll have, I guess.
Because it would have like potato pieces, the
Yeah, yeah.
onion pieces and tomato
Like
pieces.
how we have standard Indian
Yeah,
sabji,
yeah,
right?
yeah. But
It will be something like
I don't
that.
know. Do you have like how do I? Maybe
I
I.
think just do a back. I think so. You opened up that filling thing. No, no, no.
What should I write if you have suggestion?
Just a second, I'll share it.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, if we got it, then it doesn't matter actually. So then, yeah, it switches to gripper number one. Gripper one picks potato, or sorry, filling from frying pan, and applying would also be a really big challenge in this case.
Like evenly spreading out, you're
Yeah,
saying.
evenly spreading it. This would be a challenging part.
You could use the same gripper again in that case. Like you could just try to run it over the filling that is placed on the cheese slice.
Yeah, but it would still be really difficult. It would break the. We need something to hold the existing assembly together, right?
Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I mean, we can actually, maybe there is. I mean, we are adding additional hardware here, some sort of. So here we could have a system where it just like how is it called, like the bench saw. What is that called? I forgot the word. The mechanical.
And so,
No, not saw, not saw. Bench wise. Yeah. It's been a while. Sort of like this, but not really this mechanical. We just need to have one jaw maybe on the side, on one side of the sandwich. Maybe it could already be fixed like this. So this could be one side, and another side it just goes there and presses it to a certain amount. Once we have done the once we have done this cheese and bread placing, the initial step.
okay, so like you want to hold the like the assembly in place by holding it down from one edge, you're saying.
No, not from one edge. So like imagine in this particular assembly area, um, basically one particular area, this is, let's say, here this end is fixed, right? And this is a fixed jaw,
Okay.
and this is a movable jaw.
Oh, okay. So the table would be the vice you're saying. Ah, okay. So
Yeah, I
like
don't know.
you put it in the middle and just get the vice to hold on the bread in that case.
Yeah. What do you think?
Mm, yeah, I think it would work, but then since the bread is soft,
Yeah.
like we'll have to be careful with the vice so that it doesn't like deform the bread or end up
Hmm.
damaging the bottom bread because you make the whole assembly like the whole sandwich, and if the bottom one doesn't hold properly, then your end product would be a mess, I guess.
Yeah. But I think we don't need to press it too much, right? We just want it. We just want that the bottom, the layer does not rotate or move. We just want to like constrain it that much.
Got it. Yeah, then in that
So
case, a vice would be a good option. A vice
okay.
could be a good option, or maybe the assembly area. It could have a like a boundary, like a open boundary in which like it's of the size of a standard bread. So like there's only very less clearance. So
So
what you do
this,
initially
yeah.
is like you have a small area. So basically you drop in the slice and just keep doing all your operations on top of the bread. Then that could be one way, or maybe this vice also would be good. Like the vice would be a good option, I think so, because if the bread slice size changes over time, then the vice would
Hmm.
be a much more viable option then.
Yeah. What other option can you were you saying? Can you repeat once more?
Like basically have a open boundary kind of thing.
Ah, okay. Like a total square boundary or something.
Yeah, basically you
Uh,
have a box kind of thing open
yeah,
from
yeah.
top, and you drop the bread. So the bread doesn't move much; it just stays within the box itself.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Yeah, actually, this is an interesting question. Do we need to constrain it from the top and bottom as well, or just the sides would be sufficient? I mean, we are not like trying to move the bread too much. We just want to keep it at one place so that we can apply. Depends on how much force we are applying when applying the filling.
Yeah, basically the force and maybe the way also how we are applying. So
Way
if
we are
you
applying it,
move
yeah.
from left to right, then the vice would be just enough for that.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. Okay, let's then actually think of how we want to apply the filling. Actually, like, okay, one particular idea comes to my mind is we can have now this is like going totally in the mechanical direction, but if we have a system like that, maybe there could be a small conveyor system that once it is done, it just applies this it just yeah um, it just throws a conveyor of mashed potatoes, and the mashed potatoes are layered on top of conveyor or something. But I
How
don't know.
would the
Never mind.
conveyor come in over here?
I mean, never mind. Forget it. I mean, that would just make it more complicated in the mechanical direction. Yeah. What do you suggest? How to apply the filling using the robot? Let's stick with the robot, otherwise it would be a mechanical problem.
I think we could use the spoon itself, Chandandeep. Like you put the filling on top and try to flatten it out with the spoon. Like you press it gently on top so that it becomes even over the area. Like you hold the bread down with the vice, put the cheese, and then put the filling. Like just put the raw
How,
filling on top.
like, how do we put the filling? So we invert the filling going on top. How do we do it? This is a problem.
I think we could pick it up with the spoon itself, right? If it has edges, then it should be capable to hold up at least a little bit of the filling. So maybe it might take one or two tries to for the robot to pick up filling, put it on the bread, again pick up filling, put it on the bread.
But I mean, I get it. Like, we picked this thing up and then we went to our half prepared sandwich with one bread layers, cheese, lettuce maybe we'll add later, right? So and how do we invert this particular thing? Do we rotate the end effector such that this thing is this thing is like now on upside down position?
For dropping that, dropping the filling on the bread,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or how do you think?
I think just tilting should be enough. Like if you try to twist it, then there's a good chance the filling might spill out. Like if you rather than spinning, if you just tilt it towards the bread, it will just drop on the bread, and then I think it there's a less chance that the filling will spill out on the
But
assembly area.
the problem is also that the filling might not go there, right? It's also sticky. The filling is sticky, and it's semi-solid kind of. Yeah,
Maybe
this
what
is
we
a
could do,
challenge.
maybe what we could do is that try to get as much filling you can from the frying pan. Okay, once that is done, at the end, just twist the spoon and maybe shake it a little bit, or else just run it over the filling that is already there, so that the filling that might be stuck on the spoon, it just like it just removes itself from the spoon. Then that could be a small routine kind of thing, how to apply the filling on the bread.
So shake it a bit before applying. So
No,
it,
like the at the end, the shaking
yeah,
part can be done at the end. Like first, try to drop off as much filling as you can on the bread,
So
and
you
then
are
once,
keeping it at an angle. It just goes there and then tilts at an angle and then it drops and then it
yeah,
shakes it so more drops. This is what you mean.
yeah, at the end you could shake off the sticky filling. Then that's what
Yeah.
it is.
What I also think we can do is we can have some sort of a different gripper specialized for this. So it could be there could be a plate here and maybe there's a revolute joint, or yeah, let's assume there's a revolute joint, and then once it is okay, it goes there in a tilted position, and then it probably also then it just rotates this particular plate at the end so as to
So
move
something
the
like a
filling there.
viper, something like a viper.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that could work too, I guess.
I mean, we are just hypothetically making
Yeah, we're just
any
having
stuff
fun
up.
with the mechanical thing, I guess.
Yeah. For this problem, I mean, only mechanical solutions are coming to my mind. But it's kind of the same that you said. The approach that we tilt it, and instead of like shaking it, we make it a viper that would be that would ensure it, because even shaking it, we are not confident that it would go there, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Hmm. Okay, then
So we
let's.
can just put it down as a specialized gripper then.
Yeah, we are adding too many grippers. Fortunately, we are not making it
No,
in.
actually, we don't need to make a second gripper. We
Okay,
can
yeah,
just use
you're
the
right.
first gripper
It's
itself.
just, yeah, okay, you're right. The first gripper is the specialized, this kind of gripper. Although it's not easy to explain to anyone, we are just. So, if
We are just
anybody
doing imagination,
watches
that's
this
it.
PPT, he would not probably understand unless you watch the video. So, but yeah. Okay, but we did a good job so far. Switches to gripper 1 again, and then picks frying pan, picks filling from frying pan, and then goes to the sandwich area and tilts the gripper, disengages the gripper viper system, engages the gripper viper. Like, yeah, this is like we are living in a fantasy. We are making anything up. Engages the, but it's a good exercise. I mean, we are developing our critical thinking ability, solving real world problems in that sense. Although it would be good if we also sometime take some portion of this and actually program it, so we also gain real programming skills. But yeah, let's take it step by step. Engages the gripper viper, right?
Yeah,
And yeah, that's it. I think our sandwich is made. Then we just need to apply a top bread, if I've not missed something.
that no, that will come later on. No, in the next slide, not here.
Yeah, so after yeah, we
Lettuce
shifted.
and spices and
Yep,
sauces, everything.
yep. Okay, so
So in this whole assembly part, we just use two grippers, I guess. Like
yeah,
the
and
one with the
that's
spoon thing and
already
one suction
good.
thing.
What put
Oh,
bread?
sorry, three grippers.
So
The jaw gripper
actually,
also used.
yeah. The jaw gripper, did I mention here
For
somewhere?
the yeah, it's there no change gripper to two jaw gripper.
Yes, okay, I've mentioned. I didn't add a picture, so but that's good. We already have a robot that makes a sandwich. So if anyone wants to do a startup, go ahead and
We have
do it.
made the whole blueprint for them.
Yeah. I don't know if this was actually an efficient system or not, but I think it's pretty good and good enough, right? There can be
Yeah,
multiple alternatives. I think it's pretty good
definitely.
that we did it. So first of all, congratulations for having a robot that
Yeah, to
make
you.
can make you sandwich. And now I think we are already running out of time. So mashing part, I think we can discuss next time. But let's briefly talk about the if just we have to like briefly think about if we didn't have these many grippers. If we just have this 5 finger gripper, how would we go about it? Now, just this is a thought exercise, and I'll add one slide for this. This is I'll also mention somewhere. Meanwhile, you can think about it. Efficient system. It's okay that we do the mashing one next time, right?
Yeah, it's
Because
cool. It's cool. We'll have probably. I think few people were not here today, right? I think they'll join us
yeah,
next time.
yeah. So these are all efficient system. I'm just writing here. So if anyone wants to see later, it still makes some sense at the very least. Oh, there are two slides. No, I added this one for the research one. Yeah, uh, research problem. All right. So now what we are considering is we just have one 5 finger gripper, and we still need to do picking the. So we still have this particular pipeline. Pick one bread slice and place in assembly area, but our approach would totally change. The cheese and everything must be picked now by a 5 finger. Now this is more in thinking about how we humans do, right? This is totally in that
Yeah,
direction.
like we are trying to emulate what we would do in that
What we
scenario.
would do, yeah. So it's pick one lettuce leaf and place on top of assembly. Now this is going to help us appreciate our own like arms and hands, which we take for granted. Okay, let's try to think about it, and we don't have to have an answer for this because this is like there's probably someone's PhD there, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so picking the bread, what kind of system would we have? Like if I think about it, if I were to pick a bread from this stack, now again we have the stacks and everything like we did, then how would we do? We would just approach it, and I mean we would obviously use our eyes, so a camera would be there, visual sensor, and um,
No, we can train the robot using
sorry,
motion sense. We can train.
motion sensor. Can you elaborate?
There will be one user who will.
Could you increase your volume?
Yeah, I think you're not audible very much.
There will be one person who would pick the bread, and robot will exactly copy that.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so we train it on multiple people picking it, and we collect the data of the movement of the fingers, right?
Yes,
Uh,
we will add something like gloves that record the
yeah,
motion of
yeah.
human hands.
Really good, yeah. Again, I think this is the Molly's way of doing it. So let's okay. So let's just write down the approaches here. We don't need to make a pipeline. Let's just write down what are the possible directions we can think of in this particular case. So one is um, collecting human finger data from a glove and doing imitation learning would be the right term for this or not. I think, yeah, imitation learning on actual robot. So this is one approach, and this is the same one that we think Molly also uses, right?
Yeah, I guess since it's handling human like utensils like a human, so like it needs to learn it somehow. No, like
Yeah.
this could be a good approach too in that case.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What else could we? Uh, how else could this be done? Like, this is an existing approach. We could also think of anything new, like how we as humans are picking. So if I try to pick a piece of bread, a slice of bread, then I just go and I grab it with my thumb and my index finger, and I know. So I visually I'm also kind of doing the same thing, right? I know that these I know that there are layers, so I know what one bread slice is, but I use these two fingers and I just place them on one on top of it and the other one. Now this is where the mechanics of picking would also play a role, like placing the bottom finger on the separating edge and trying to then move it a bit up so it separates it, and then hold, and then it would just be holding it and moving it to the compartment,
Yeah,
basically.
basically, I guess sliding in the finger and trying to hold it up, hold the slice up with two fingers is going to be the main thing.
Yeah.
So I think we could use the idea from the previous attempt also. Like we could use the image, like the computer vision part, to identify the layers and
Hmm.
position the two fingers in that accordingly. In that case,
Yeah.
and
But
then
it's
it can be a
also
what?
I think the challenging part would be the mechanics of grasping here, and we won't go into detail of that, like how the forces and like the amount that finger is moving. So that's why this grabbing human data is a safe option, because we don't need to understand how the grasping thing is working. But yeah, let's write this down.
Chandandeep, this imitation learning method that you mentioned as the first point, is it something similar to this motion capture kind of thing?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Okay, okay.
But imitation learning, I mean, what do you mean by motion capture? So, what I mean is, maybe I didn't use the right term or something. So, it is using the gloves, but it is collecting all the data and then it is training a model, and it just feeds it to the actual robot. This is what I mean. By
So in
motion
that,
capture,
okay, so
it's. Yeah.
yeah, you go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, by motion capture, do you mean that it is like somebody is going to just guide it and it is going to like teleoperation sort of thing, or what do you mean?
Yeah. So I think in
Okay.
motion capture, what they do is like considering the example of films, the person, yeah, they have all sorts of sensors and a special suit for that.
Mm-hmm.
And motion capture can be done either using cameras, or they can be combined with the sensors that are on the suit. So like how hands and legs are moving, so move according to. So like if you consider animated movies and CGI stuff, they I
Yeah.
think do something similar to that.
So, but it's the same thing, right? So you are collecting here, collecting data here from a glove. It's like the motion capture system, but then this data is used to perform imitation learning, right?
Okay, I don't know about imitation learning, but okay, yeah, that in that case definitely they
So
are similar.
the idea is that we are just collecting this data from motion capture system, and we are just uh, training a network or something, and just transferring our learning
Okay,
somehow
got
to
it.
this. But
Got it.
another point that you mentioned is that the motion capture could be like the pose estimation of hands, right? It could be captured
Yes,
using computer vision system.
yes, yes.
Estimation of hand and then do imitation learning. So this is another part of the same thing. And the other thing that we mentioned is bread slice identification. Once a bread slice is identified, and we'll just wind off now quickly. um, yeah, bread slice identification, and then the finger grasping stuff, yeah, using the grasping mechanics. But I mean, it's really a challenging task. We have to understand how we are grasping, and kind of like model the grasping process in this case. So anyway, yeah, let's move on to the cheese. I guess the cheese, it for cheese it would be similar.
Yes, cheese, I think it will be similar.
Although I think that the way of picking cheese would be different from the way of picking
Yeah, I guess since
bread.
the thickness and stickiness is there, there are different parameters when
Yeah,
in
yeah,
that
yeah.
case.
So this direction is kind of like, I'll just generally write it. So this is like identifying the slices, then grasping using fingers, but we kind of make a model uh, of grasping. So we have to make a realistic model of how we humans grasp each of the objects: bread, cheese, lettuce, etc. So it's, yeah, and since it is a five finger jaw gripper, now picking the filling would be a problem. But we have to make it pick a spoon or something, or maybe one of our grippers before.
Yeah, like in that video, how it's holding a spoon. So
Yeah,
yeah, we could use a spoon in that case for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah, but yeah. So again, it has to then for filling, it has to understand the mechanics of holding and moving a spoon. This is super complicated. Let's not go into too much. We have to allocate one specific session to discuss really deeply, and this would be possible if we also read some research papers. So this is like not possible in today's meetup. Okay, I'll just write for filling, we model of grasping spoon. Again, I'm just writing what we are discussing here, and it's this may or may not be totally correct. So this particular part, but at least this efficient system is what makes logical sense. Okay, all right. Do you have anything to add?
That sauces and spices addition
Yeah.
could also be done by the hand itself. Like it just needs to hold the container and shake it a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it has to. So that's why this approach is probably the easiest, grabbing all the data, because you have to learn, you have to understand all of these things, which is a really yeah, monumental task.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. So we made a sandwich today. N-
Congrats.
Next time, what we can do is we can go to discuss the mashing potatoes, but also, like we discussed last time, we will discuss in detail how to use mask RCNN to classify vegetables individually, and given images of vegetable basket with individual vegetable. So, how the deep learning system works is something we can discuss. Now is the time you can give any suggestions we can do for next time, and also your thoughts on today's discussion. Anything we can change or do better, or anything yeah, anything
I
else.
think we got quite a lot of done today. So I think today's session was good, and I think more people will be probably attending for this Smart RCNN thing. So I
Yeah.
think the topic is also set for the next meetup.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's it, I guess.
Okay, okay, all right. And then also please think about what our theme for next month would be, and the format that we want to keep. I think one thing is that is missing in this particular format is we don't have a uh, code discussion at any point. So the first session that we had was exploring kitchen robots, which was good. So like starting, we understand what's going on, and then we take one particular area and we make an overall pipeline. And now we went deeper into one particular aspect of the pipeline, the sandwich assembly process. And next time we can go to another process. But I think like there will be 4 sessions for each particular theme, right? So
And then,
maybe.
yeah, I think what we could do in that case is we can probably extend a theme for 2 months. So, like for the first half, we could take up the theoretical and interesting deep learning and mechanical topics, and for the next half, we could probably like if someone's free, they could probably do a small project. So, like this Mars RCNN thing, if there is code available, maybe one of us could take up the code and try to make a small video out of it, like showing a demo
Yeah,
and
but I don't
explaining the
think
code.
like that's the yeah, that's
So basically,
like
the first
expecting
month
too
would be
much.
a discussion part, and the second month, like the second half of the 2 months period, would be a more practical, like application oriented kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we could even have like a few weeks free weeks where is like how Krish wanted to give a presentation, right,
Yeah, yeah.
about the startup, so we can have some other stuff also get done. So like towards the ending, if our meetups are done and like we feel that we have covered everything, like we still have 2 meetups left for the 2 month period, we
Mm-hmm.
could like get some other activities get in that free weeks, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good suggestion, but the only problem is that for coding, like expecting that someone would be able to
Yeah,
spend
that's the
time.
main challenge. Like
Yeah,
everyone's busy.
yeah, that is the main challenge. Um, okay.
Okay, maybe we can take that up with everyone next time, since we are going to discuss this Mars Darcian thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like even I'm working on a small project myself now, so I think by this week or by next week my project will be done. So probably I could take up a few days and see if there's some kind of computer vision thing that I could do on this thing. Maybe not even the Mazda RCNN,
Hmm.
but something similar, like related to what we are working over here. So like identifying vegetables within a
By the way,
create
the
something
mic's
like
off.
that. I could
To
probably
turn
look
it back
into that
on,
too.
slide the switch on the
Hmm.
bottom of your
Hmm.
phone.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but no pressure. I mean, depending on
Yeah, I mean,
your time.
like I would enjoy it. I'll quite get to learn quite a lot, so
Hmm.
it's not a
Hmm.
problem for me. Maybe we
Okay.
could let's just ask everyone next time, I guess.
Yeah, sure, sure, sure. So, okay. So next time, let's stick with mask RCNN. Actually, we could also simply just. I mean, what could we discuss in mask RCNN? We are going to probably talk about how the algorithm overall is, what mask RCNN is, right? That's it. But we could take one general, maybe it's not identifying vegetables, but a similar problem that we find, we can just Google things and try to
Yeah, I think there
go
will be
through the code.
some code, working code on GitHub,
Working
I'm
code,
pretty sure.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, on GitHub or anywhere. If we get a code, we can just walk through it together and try to understand it. And if we need more time to understand it, then we can continue it with the next uh, for next time. And one particular session could be just we like come together and walk through the code and understand the code together. So this way you could also get some coding thing covered.
Yeah, that could be a good idea.
Okay, so anyway, the theme for next time is fixed. Whether we will discuss code or not, yeah, I'll think about it and I'll write on the write on the Discord server. But let's fix the theme. Yes, and that's it from my side. Better than yesterday. Would you like to give your feedback or maybe also introduce yourself, because I'm pretty sure your real name is not better than yesterday.
This is the first time I have joined this meeting. It was very nice.
Okay, yeah. And regarding the next meeting's topic, what do you think? Is this something of interest to you?
By the way, the
Nothing.
mic's on.
I don't
To
know
turn
much
it back
about these
on,
meetings,
slide the
so
switch on the back of the Google
I
phone.
will watch the topic what next week video is about.
Okay, okay. So it's just a computer vision object detection and segmentation algorithm that we are going to be discussing. Uh, what are your, can you introduce yourself? What are your interests and things?
Uh, I I love artificial intelligence and robotics.
Hmm.
I live in Mumbai, Maharashtra. I am 16 years old, currently studying in 10th.
Oh, okay, okay. So you're starting too young.
Okay. Yes, I am just learning robotics.
Okay,
So
okay. Are you doing some projects or how are you learning?
now I am just learning Python programming. After that, I will learn data science, also something like machine learning,
Okay.
and then develop and something sort of AI that as AI merged with robotics.
Hmm. Nice, nice. So good that you are thinking about this at such a young age, and maybe also get in touch with Krish. He is like one of the youngest guys, and he's doing.
I have
He's
talked to him.
Yeah. You
He
talk to
told me
him.
to join the meeting.
Ah, okay, nice. Do you know
He
him
also told
already
that to
or?
present if you have some ideas. So I was going to present today, but my PPT was not ready. So I think maybe I will present next Sunday.
Ah, okay. Okay, okay. What is this? We can like next Sunday we've already fixed for Mask RCNN, but next time we can.
No, only I will take only 2 or 3 minutes.
Ah,
I will
okay. Hmm.
presentation on cooking robot.
Oh, okay, okay. That would be great. And I think next time would be better because more people would be joining next time. So it makes sense. Okay, all right. Then thank you for joining.
Can you help me? Can you suggest me what to do next after learning Python programming?
Okay, I can chat with you after this thing and we can discuss like what your interests are and stuff.
Okay, I will message you.
Okay, perfect.
Thank
All
you.
right. Then
It was great session.
thank you. Thanks a lot for joining. Aditya,
Thanks, Anandeep. Thanks, Anandeep.
yeah. Do you also want to say something?
No, I guess I enjoyed today's session. So, like, I'm looking forward to next one.
Okay, so next time we'll be, and also like, please try to also get some information about it, because like now we are shifting from that approach where one person strictly shared, right, to having a more kind of open discussion and kind of coming to a conclusion together. And I think this is better because we can all learn from each other in that way. So both of you, if you get some time, try to look what mask RCNN is, what object detection and segmentation are, maybe basic if you're starting, what is object segmentation, semantic segmentation, instance segmentation, all these things. Deep learning, what is deep learning, all these things you can look up. And this would help not only to this would not only help you understand the things that we'll be discussing better, but also you can contribute and share your own like unique ideas. So it would be a really interesting discussion in that sense.
Cool. Yeah, I'll look into it.
Okay, perfect. Then, yes, I'll just conclude the meeting now. So, thank you for joining
Thank you.
and see you next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.